Brock is a character that's always been sidelined in the anime and movies, but in my opinion he deserves way more credit than Ash. That got me thinking, what if Brock was the main character instead of Ash, and had to face off against the Sinnoh gym leaders, Elite Four, and Champion? And also, because I love a challenge and suffering, I've decided I'm going to make this a hardcore Nuzlocke challenge. So with all encounters only having one life, let's see if Brock has what it takes to become the champion of the Sinnoh region.
Specialist gym leader Brock in this Pokémon Platinum Hardcore Nuzlocke.
Before starting, a huge shout out to Nuzlocke Joe for helping mod the Brock character sprites into the game. It's such a cool feature and you should head over to his channel and drop him a sub and leave him a comment to let him know I sent you. But Brock starts out on his journey in Twinleaf Town, where he immediately breaks into some poor family's house, where he runs into some washed up YouTuber, JakyXY. He then asks if we can accompany him to get a starter Pokemon, which segues me perfectly into a really cool adjustment I've made to this game. I want to use every one of Brock's Pokemon, so I've modified some of the routes throughout Platinum so that a Pokemon that can't normally be found in this game can be acquired. One of the Pokemon I have swapped out is the only starter Pokemon that Brock gets in the series, Mudkip. After picking up Mudkip, who I named Taiju, let me know if you get the nickname theme by the way, I head out and collect the remaining members of Brock's team. First up is Ravage Path, where I recruit Yuzuriha the Zubat, Senku the Geodude is in Orberg Gate, and then finally Orberg Mine has Onix, who I named Chrome. Now with every encounter I can obtain up until this point in the game, it's time to see which rock specialist and first gym leader is better. Let's take on Rock. The obvious choice to lead this battle is Taiju by having an advantage against rock types, and that is made evident as a single water gun takes out Rock's Geodude. Anyway, Onix is next out, and although he is literally 8 meters tall and made of rocks, he somehow manages to outspeed Taiju and get up a stealth rocks, which doesn't phase my little Kip, and Taiju one-shots Onix as well with another water gun. Imagine having an Onix and a Geodude on your team. Wait, unlike Brock's Kanto team in the first gym challenge, Rock has a third Pokemon, Cranidos, the headbutt Pokemon, and he starts off by trying to scare Taiju by leering, but Taiju hits back with a big water gun, taking Cranidos down to the yellow. Rock then starts clutching at straws by using a potion, but despite that, Cranidos doesn't get back to full HP, and after another water gun, Cranidos starts to panic. The following turn, Cranidos starts fighting back and lands a huge headbutt, which leaves Taiju in critical condition, but even with the damage taken, Taiju strikes back with one last water gun, taking down the first gym leader's final Pokemon. Which means not only does Brock obtain the first gym badge in the Sinnoh region, but this also means Brock has secured the spot as the best rock gym leader in this region. Taiju then also celebrates his solo victory by evolving into Marshtomp. After the gym challenge in Orberg, Brock's next stop is Floroma Town and the Valley Windworks, where a small girl's dad is being held hostage by Team Galactic. Brock wouldn't stand for that, and nor would I. I take on some of the Galactic grunts to obtain the Windworks key, and inside I encounter Mars, the leader of the hostage situation. Mars won't leave unless I beat her in a battle, so you leave me no choice. Mars starts the battle by sending in Zubat, and I let Senku have his debut. But before Senku can do anything, Zubat lands a toxic, poisoning my lead. But Senku doesn't mess around, and after a single rock throw, Zubat retreats back to his Pokeball, leaving her ugly. Ugly by design and by name. With Senku being poisoned, I don't want to stay in, but I decide to tank the fake out before swiftly swapping over to Chrome, who absorbs a crit feint attack, and then a second non-crit feint attack on the following turn. Chrome's role here isn't to attack, but to lower Purugly's defense stat with Screech, and once it's lowered enough and Chrome has eaten enough hits, Taiju tags in on a feint attack and a scratch, before landing a tackle that does less than I had hoped for, but still more than if Chrome hadn't helped out. Another scratch puts Taiju down to 21 HP, but Taiju smacks back with another tackle, leaving Purugly close to death, but heals up using a Help Berry, because, you know, screw me, right? Another scratch backs Taiju into a corner, but fret not, one more big tackle manages to take out the plump fat cat, and wins us the battle, which results in Team Galactic running away with their tail between their legs. Remember earlier when I mentioned I modified some of the routes to have some more of Brock's Pokemon? Well, Eterna Forest is the first modified route, which is home to Pineco, who I name Kohaku, and after guiding one of Brock's many lovers out of the forest, I arrive in Eterna City. I then head to my next challenge, Gym 2, home to the grass type user and my biggest threat so far. Or so you would think. Although Yuzuriha has had no screen time so far, She's been grinding in her own time, which results in her evolving into Golbat at this gym's level cap, which is the perfect answer to Gardenia. Yuzuriha will be my last resort, as I want to use Kohaku as she's the newest member to the team. And so when Gardenia sends in Turtwig and feeds Kohaku a couple dishes of Razor Leaf, Kohaku munches away on the leaves using Bug Bite and takes down the grass specialist's first Pokemon. Cherim, Gardenia's next Pokemon, is also concerned if I feed Kohaku enough, and decides a couple magical leaves are on the menu. And despite her assumed good intentions, she leaves Kohaku below half, and so after a couple of Bug Bites, that's one less threat to deal with. But with Roserade taking the field, I decide it's time for Yuzuriha to make her debut in this video, and she's also given the same menu, and nibbles on magical leaves before confusing Flower Hands with Confuse Ray. And after she proceeds to hit herself in confusion and getting slapped by Yuzuriha's strangely large wings, Gardenia's Ace falls, which rewards me with gym badge number 2. After leaving the gym, I run into JKXY, who takes me to see some statue. I then proceed to break into a building and scale to the top, and interrupt a business meeting between Jupiter of Team Galactic and the bicycle salesman. Jupiter was pissed and challenges me to a battle. Thankfully, Jupiter only has 2 Pokemon, but despite that, there's still a threat, especially her ace Skuntank, but one target at a time. Zubat is sent out first, and to counter that, I send in Senku, who has an obvious type advantage. And speaking of type advantages, Zubat has Giga Drain? What? Somehow Senku lives on a sliver and eliminates the threat with a rock throw. So with Skuntank out now and Senku writing his will, I swap into Yuzuriha on a Night Slash. The following turn I try my luck with Confuse Ray to hopefully slow down the rate at which Jupiter tries to eliminate my entire team. But alas, another Night Slash leaves Yuzuriha questioning whether it was a good idea to join Brock's team when I'm in charge. So Taiju tags in, and thankfully the stupid skunk hits itself in confusion. But I'm not so lucky on the following turn as a Night Slash lands and Taiju counters back with a Mud Shot, leaving Skuntank just below half. But due to its held berry, it jumps back up to 3/3. The secondary effect of Mud Shot is that it lowers the speed of the Pokemon it hits. And with that being the case, Taiju moves first and lands another Mud Shot. Skuntank then lands another hit through confusion and leaves Taiju in a position where I need to swap him out. So in comes Chrome, and after a couple of exchanges of Rock Throw and Night Slash, both Pokemon are in the red. But thanks to the speed deduction from Taiju's Mud Shots, Chrome moves first and takes out the stinky skunk with a final Rock Throw. With that business meeting over, I head down to the bike shop, only to see Mummy. You know what, I'm not even sorry, that's Mummy and she gives me her egg. Wait. I then pick up the bike so I can head to the next city and the next gym challenge. As I enter Hearthrome, I run around like a maniac. And whilst I do, let me inform you on 3 important things. Firstly, if you haven't subscribed already, it would be greatly appreciated. 2026 is going to be a great year for the channel, and I don't want you missing out on any of the awesome content that comes out. 2, the egg was also modified to hold a Happiny, and it hatches before I enter the 3rd gym. I name her Suika. And then finally, Senku and Yuzuriha evolve into Graveler and Crobat. I start the battle off on a high as the first bite from Yuzuriha flinches Fantina's Duskull. On the second turn, another bite takes out our first threat. Second in is Miss Magius, and she also faces the exact same fate. Bite, flinch, bite, death. Fantina's last Pokemon is Haunter, and surprisingly this Pokemon manages to land a hit with Sucker Punch before getting nibbled down to low HP. Haunter then gets healed back up with a potion, but gets sent back to a critical condition with another bite. And then shock, one more bite later and Brock manages to secure himself gym badge number 3. With 3 badges obtained, I make my way to Veilstone City, but on the way I stop off at this spooky tower where I pick up the Oval Stone, which allows Suika to evolve into Chansey. And then shortly after a ton of EV training and running around again, she evolves into her final form, Blissey, which is going to be so handy against the 4th gym leader, right? But the team building doesn't finish there. Even though my next destination is Veilstone, I have access to Pastoria City, so I pick up Ryusui the Lotad from the Safari Zone, and then Gen the Krogunk from the route west of Pastoria. Before I take on the fighting specialist Maylene, Kohaku evolves into Forretress, which I'm really excited to use as I don't remember the last time I used a Forretress. But similar to Suika, I can't imagine she'll get much screen time, if any, in this next battle. The obvious and pretty much only choice I have in this battle is to lead with Yuzuriha, and that's played in my favour as a single wing attack takes out Meditite. Machoke is out next, and I go for another wing attack. Yuzuriha must have felt threatened because she lands a crit and takes out the weird looking Muscle Dad. Maylene's Ace is one of my favourite Pokemon, Lucario, and as he comes in, it gets instantly smacked with a wing attack, but it then retaliates with a Metal Claw, and the next few turns we rinse and repeat until both Lucario and Yuzuriha are on their last legs. I don't want to take the risk and switch into Taiju on a weak Metal Claw, which raises Lucario's attack, and then he outspeeds on the next turn, landing a Drain Punch, doing huge damage. But thankfully, after one Mud Shot from Taiju, Lucario falls and wins Brock and his team the 4th badge. There really isn't much I can do between gyms 4 and 5, so I trek back to Salacion Ruins and grab the Water Stone so I can evolve Lombre into Ludicolo. Whilst in Veilstone, I also partook in some gambling, which is very fun and definitely not a gateway into financial difficulties which would absolutely not affect my bills or home life situation. Anyway, I pick up the TM for Thunderbolt and teach it to Suika. Suika makes her debut in the video in an important battle, which feels quite anime-esque, but she faces off against Gyarados, who lands a big waterfall, but thanks to the EV training I mentioned earlier, she eats it fairly well. And then for the next few turns, she uses Minimize, which is such a cheesy strategy, but come on, it's a Blissey, what did you expect? Anyway, after setting up Minimizes, I soft boil so we can regain the HP that we lost from the waterfall damage. And then shortly after, a quad effective Thunderbolt one-shot Gyarados. Floatzel is Wake's ace, but ace or not, he still misses his crunch, so Suika lands our Thunderbolt, taking Floatzel down to the yellow. And even with the held berry restoring its HP, it still won't land its next. Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh! Okay, we're good. Cool, nice. One more Thunderbolt and Floatzel swims to the fishes. I'd imagine, you know, giving it typing. Anyway, it's dead. Now with the moveset I have on Suika, there was only room for one offensive move. So with Quagsire coming in next, I have to switch out. The obvious choice is to tag in Ryusui, who brushes off a Rock Tomb and then demolishes Wake's hopes and dreams in front of him with a single quad effective Mega Drain, which earns Brock his 5th badge. We're over halfway through the gym challenge, but the fun's only just getting started. Did I get your attention? Well, we got the attention of Wake and Rival XY, as some emo season 1 Will Byers looking arse tries to nuke the Safari Zone. I chase him to the lake where I run into my future wife, who asked me to do her a favour involving cucks. Cucks? Oh, ducks! Yep. Sure, whatever. I then have to deliver something to her grandma, and I'm sure they only get more beautiful with age, so sure, why not? I head to Celestic Town, and long story short, I woo Granny Cynthia, and let's just say Celestic Town wasn't the only old ruins I was entering. Also, Graveler evolved into Golem, and who are you? Right, some old guy who I can only assume is Granny Cynthia's husband wants to battle me, and after whooping his ass back into the retirement home, Granny gives me the HM for Surf, which I mean I guess is only fair to return the favour as I made her wet. With the ability to surf, I'm now able to pick up the TM for Giga Drain and head over to Canalave Sea, where I can board the boat to Iron Island, which at the very end of the cave, I can pick up the Metal Coat, and after giving it to Chrome, he can finally live up to his name and become a Chrome Steelix. After thrashing Rourke at the start of the video, Byron wants to avenge his weak-ass son and take on Brock himself, which is fine because he has a badge I need. So there's only one way to do it. Magneton comes in and Senku is my lead as he now knows Earthquake, which should easily one-shot. Oh my god, Flash Cannon done so much, what the fuck? Oh god, that was tense. As I was saying, I one-shot Magneton with Earthquake. But with Senku literally on death's door, I have no choice but to switch him in for Ryusui, as Steelix readies his attack. Steelix lands a crit Ice Fang on Ryusui, but to my surprise does less damage than expected. Ryusui and Steelix then exchange attacks until Byron uses a potion to give himself a fighting chance. But alas, a single Surf and the knockoff Chrome wannabe falls. So with only one Pokemon left, Byron has no choice but to send in Bastiodon, and it doesn't even manage to land a hit before getting washed off the field with a couple of Surfs. And after flooding the Canalave gym, Brock snags himself the 6th badge. Once again, another explosion takes place, this time whilst I'm having a team meeting in the Canalave library, and the professor asked me to investigate the lakes of Sinnoh. First up is Valor, but before I address the time-sensitive issue, I decided it's time to add the final members to Brock's team. And before I do that, I want to say this now, they do not get a lot of screen time, so leave a rip in the comments. Anyway, firstly is Nikki the Vulpix from Fuego Ironworks. And then from Route 221 is Kinro the Sudowoodo. Now back to your regularly scheduled terrorist attack on the lakes of Sinnoh. Firstly, I deal with Saturn and Valor, then I head back over to where the journey began and whoop Mars and her ugly puss. Heading through Mount Coronet takes me to Route 216, and eventually after trekking through the snow, I see Snowy XY at the top of the cliff, taunting me for not having the 7th gym badge. God, nothing's ever good enough for you, is it? So I venture forth to Snowpoint City, where Candace, the Ice-type specialist, awaits my challenge. The battle starts with Sneasel and Kohaku. Kohaku gets struck with an aerial ace, but thanks to the steel typing she gained upon evolution, it doesn't do too much, which means Kohaku can confidently get off a couple layers of spikes. And after eating a couple more aerial aces, Kohaku can utilise the same type attack bonus of Mirror Shot and Bug Bite to take down Candace's first Pokemon. Pillowswine trots in and gets her little toes ouchie by the spikes, but the hairy pig, and no, I'm not talking about your mum, hits Kohaku so hard with an earthquake that she misses her attack, and she's clearly mentally checked out. So I swap into Ryusui on a soft stone edge. Thankfully, Ryusui wants to do the job she was called in for, and lands a Surf, drenching the second of Candace's Pokemon. Frostlass, despite not having feet, I'd assume, also takes damage from the spikes, and starts doing what she's best known for, and that is being a massive menace by setting up with double teams. Ryusui does manage to land a Surf on turn 1 though, which results in Frostlass consuming her berry, but shortly after she lands a Blizzard, leaving my sombrero and poncho wearing duck in the yellow. And I debated switching out as another Blizzard would box Ryusui, but I have no idea why I did this, but I stayed in. And Surf lands and takes out Candace's ace. That was so risky, but I'm glad it paid off. So now with a Bomber Sinnoh out last, I decided now's the best time to switch out, and Nikki is my obvious choice. Or so I thought, as after a Wood Hammer and the Hail of Bomber Sinnoh set up on entry, Nikki is as good as dead, which leaves me with no choice but to switch out if I want to continue my deathless run. So Yuzuriha comes in on a super effective Avalanche, paired with the Hail damage. This next hit needs to KO, otherwise Yuzuriha is going to get KO'd herself, and we could lose the run. I click Fly, soar up into the air, and we hit a Bomber Sinnoh, KOing it, and by the skin of our teeth, we win the battle and obtain the 7th gym badge. With only one more badge to go, I head to the lake to deal with Team Galactic, and find Crybaby XY, who got his ass whooped, and Jupiter flees. So with Team Galactic still causing mayhem, I head to Veilstone City and enter the Team Galactic HQ, where I venture through and find Grandpa Cynthia? You're the leader of Team Galactic? This changes things. You can't keep getting away with these shenanigans. Let's battle. Kohaku eliminates Pop Pop's first Pokemon with a few bug bites, but not before taking damage from an Ice Punch. Gramps isn't messing around and sends in Honchkrow, who lands a Drill Peck on Senku as he enters, and straight after takes Senku down to the yellow with a Nightshade. And as I want to keep the spherical Pokemon on my team, I swap out into Chrome. And if it's not broke, don't fix it. A couple more Nightshades later and Chrome is in critical condition, but did manage to land a Rock Throw before I have to swap into Suicune. And it's a free switch in, as normal types are immune to ghost type moves. The following turn however, Honchkrow lands a Drill Peck, but Suicune stands tall as she lands the finishing blow with a super effective Thunderbolt. The old fella's last Pokemon is Crobat, his own Yuzuriha, and I managed to get off 2 Thunderbolts, but in the process Suicune got hit by Poison Fang, and also got poisoned. So yeah, switch out time. And the Honor Battle is the only way to finish this, so Yuzuriha swoops in and lands a big fly, swatting the imposter, and winning Brock the battle, which also rewards him with a Master Ball. I head into the back rooms of the HQ and release the Lake Guardians, but my battle with Team Galactic isn't over, and requires me to head to the top of Mount Coronet, where I run into Mars and Jupiter, and taking them both on alone?
That doesn't seem fair.
So teammate XY joins me to take on the leaders, but thankfully they're no issue as we deal with them with ease. The geriatric Pokemon trainer of Team Galactic decided to summon not 1, not 2, but 3 godlike Pokemon, and then disappears into the nether. So I do what any trainer would. I follow, and after venturing through the Upside Down, I run into my true rival, and he wants to battle me. Here? Right now? Seriously? Alright then. Senku leads this fight and takes damage from Houndoom and his Dark Pulse, which leaves Senku on 69 HP. Nice. One ground rattling earthquake later, and Anti-Jax, formerly known as Pokehound, retreats back into his Pokeball. Suicune tags in as Gyarados readies its attack, and a Waterfall lands, and then swiftly after, another does too, leaving Suicune in the yellow. But luck is on my side as Thunderbolt not only lands and does big damage, but also paralyzes it, meaning on the next turn Suicune can move first, and heals up with Soft Boiled, and Gyarados stays immobilized, which allows Suicune to get near full HP and then finishes off the Water Feast with another Thunderbolt. Honchkrow returns in this battle, and after an exchange of Drill Pecks and Thunderbolt, Suicune comes out on top, but not without wincing in range of death. Sneasel has changed things up and evolved into Weavile for this battle, and after landing 3 Ice Punches on Chrome, it falls to a single Iron Tail. With Crobat being Cyrus's last Pokemon, I think it's only fair that the last Pokemon I send in should be Yuzuriha for an honor battle. And after 2 flies, Crobat falls, and not only do I win the battle, but the heart of Cynthia's grandma. Before leaving the Distortion world, Cynthia wants me to prove my love for her grandma by taking on Satan himself. Yeah, this isn't worth it. Cyrus, you can keep that wrinkly old bag. There is only one gym badge left to obtain in this region, so Sunyshore City is my next destination, and Volkner is my next challenge. But considering the Pokemon on my team, surely a challenge is a bit of an overstatement. I start the battle off with my best foot forward, and Jolteon is clearly intimidated by Senku as he misses his Iron Tail and gets shaken off the field by a single Earthquake. Raichu is next in, and for some reason I thought Raichu had Surf, so I swapped into Taiju, who's been keeping the box Pokemon company. But to my surprise, Raichu lands a Focus Blast twice, leaving Taiju low, but also falls to a single Earthquake. Volkner's ace is Electivire, and with Taiju fearing the big PC box in the sky, I swap into Senku on a Quick Attack. Yep, Quick Attack in the 8th gym battle. It still manages to outspeed and land a pathetically weak Fire Punch, but swiftly falls to another Earthquake. In a last-ditch effort to win this battle, Volkner sends in Luxray, who hits a respectable Ice Fang. But to no one's surprise, another Earthquake wipes Luxray off the field, and this means Brock is stronger than every gym leader in the Sinnoh region. And as proof, I claim the 8th gym badge. To take on the 5 strongest trainers in the region, I need to head through Victory Road. And to get to that, I need to scale a waterfall, which I can do thanks to fellow Steelix lover Jasmine, who gifts me the HM for Waterfall. And after exiting Victory Road, I enter the Pokemon League, where Brock can finally find out if he's capable of becoming the champion of the Sinnoh region. But first,
Crack stone paths through iron fights. He moves forward, no second light. Rocking ground at his command. Steel-clad heart, steady hand. No mortal flame, no chosen crown. He earns respect, some solid ground. They never saw it back then, but Brock was built to stand. Specialist gym leader Brock in this Pokémon Platinum Hardcore Nuzlocke.
with that dealt with, this is the team that will carry me through the Elite Four and to the champion title. Senku with Soft Sand and the moves Stone Edge, Rock Throw, Earthquake, and after entering, I teach him Return over Tackle. Yuzuriha with Poison Fang, Confuse Ray, Fly and Bite. Chrome holding the Iron Plate with Iron Tail, Rock Throw, Screech and Crunch. Ryusui with Giga Drain, Surf, Ice Beam and Zen Headbutt. Kohaku with Spikes, Gyro Ball, Bug Bite and Rock Slide. Suicune with Soft Boiled, Minimize, Flamethrower and Thunderbolt. Now with my team assembled and nothing standing in my way, let's see if Brock has what it takes to become the champion of the Sinnoh region. Aaron, user of bug types, shouldn't pose much of a threat considering the types I have, but let's see how we fare against him. Kohaku, a fellow bug type Pokemon, starts his battle and gets instantly hit by Yanmega's Air Slash, which done more than I'd like to admit, but strikes back with a Rock Slide, barely not taking out the Dragonfly. Yanmega's ability also means that no matter which Pokemon I have out, it's gonna get outsped, thanks to Speed Boost. Aaron is then quick to use his Full Restore as Kohaku uses a soft Bug Bite doing next to nothing. Any luck I had has officially run out, as another Air Slash takes Kohaku to the red, and then flinches her. So I rapidly switch out into Chrome on a surprisingly hard hitting Bug Buzz. It then follows up by setting up Double Team, and of course, I miss Rock Throw. After a couple more double teams and bug buzzes, Chrome somehow lands 2 Rock Throws, taking down the pesky bug. Trying to take type advantage in the situation, Aaron sends in Heracross, so I make the safe switch to Yuzuriha on a weak close combat and finishes off the Beetle with a quad effective fly. To save Yuzuriha for any other challenges we may face in this battle, I swap into Senku, who gets hit by 2 Ice Fangs before taking down the weird Scorpion with a super effective Earthquake. Sizzle takes to the battlefield and I bring in Suika to take an Iron Head and an X-Scissor, so he can then one-shot the Steel Bug with a Flamethrower. Suika then faces off against Aaron's final Pokemon, Vespiquen, and as she sets up using Defend Order, I heal up with Soft Boil. Next round, Suika lands a small Flamethrower and the Queen Bee hits back with a crit attack order. Not wanting to risk Suika as she could be crucial for winning this run, I switch into Yuzuriha, who after a handful of turns saw Vespiquen use every order it can until Yuzuriha isn't in a position where she can finish this battle without a risk. Despite her landing a fly, it still wasn't enough thanks to heal order. I decided to risk it and swap back into Senku. Senku comes in on a defend order, which is probably the best case scenario. Senku then proceeds to miss Stone Edge and get hit by an attack order. But on the following turn, Senku manages to hit the Stone Edge and take down Vespiquen, and winning Brock the first battle of the Elite Four, with no casualties. Bertha uses ground types and her starting choice is Whiscash, and this makes it obvious that Ryusui needs to come in and one-shot it with Giga Drain. My friend Rhyperion is sent out next, and unfortunately after a single surf he goes down. Hippowdon then emerges from the ground, and as quickly as she appeared, she disappears, thanks to Ryusui's surf. I wish I could say this battle is more interesting than it is, but Golem's next, and if it's not broke, don't fix it. So one more surf and no more Imposter Senku. Now with Gliscor being Bertha's final Pokemon, I decided to switch things up, but still allowing Ryusui to claim the sweeping title, and she eats the Earthquake and one-shots the Flying Scorpion with an Ice Beam, meaning Brock has now conquered half of the Elite Four. Flint specializes in fire types, so let's see how Brock, a rock type specialist, fares in this battle. He starts the battle with Houndoom and sets up a sunny day. Senku enjoys the sunshine as he shakes Houndoom off the field with an Earthquake. Infernape is called upon next, so I make a big brain switch into Yuzuriha for free on an Earthquake, and strike back with a Fly, knocking down the Fiery Monkey. Magmortar is a fairly strong Pokemon and has a versatile moveset, so I stay in and hit a Fly, which doesn't knock it out, but does activate its berry. Magmortar then lands a scary Thunderbolt, doing a huge amount of damage. With that in mind, I swap over to Senku on a Flamethrower, and with the Sunny Day faded, it does less damage. This also means that the following turn, Magmortar waits a turn loading up for a Solar Beam, and means Senku can rid of this threat with an Earthquake. Rapidash makes the same mistake by absorbing sunlight and swiftly falling to an Earthquake. Flareon is Flint's last Pokemon, and nerfs Senku to put a stop to his rampage by using Will-O-Wisp to burn him, which then also lowers his attack stat, which is made evident as the Earthquake doesn't knock out Flareon. Flint then heals up with a full restore, and I for some reason didn't think he would, so I use a return, which doesn't do a lot, so I stay in and go for another Earthquake. But this was the greatest mistake in this whole run, as Flareon hits an overheat, and unfortunately, Senku can't take the heat. And this marks the first death of this run. A Golem fainted to a fire type. A Flareon of all fire types as well, with a special move. This isn't looking good. Ryusui comes in to avenge her fallen brother and takes the evil evolution out with a Surf, meaning there is only one more Elite Four member to deal with. But now is no time to celebrate, as we mourn the loss of Senku. We put our game face on and head in to take on Lucian. Lucian's first Pokemon doesn't pose much of a threat, as Mr. Mime's job really is just to set up screens, and that's what it does, with Reflect and Light Screen, as Kohaku lays the field with spikes, and then hits Mr. Mime down to half with a Bug Bite. Mr. Mime then hits Kohaku with a Thunderbolt, doing a respectable amount, but it can't do much more thanks to the finishing Bug Bite. Alakazam then trips on the spikes as it comes in, and clearly his confidence has been knocked as he misses 2 Focus Blasts in a row, and survives on a Sliver after 2 Bug Bites. Lucian then heals up with a full restore, but Kohaku doesn't care and takes it back down to the red with another Bug Bite, which done more now as the reflector's worn off. Luck is finally on my side as Alakazam misses yet another Focus Blast and gets KO'd by Kohaku and another Bug Bite. A Psychic from Lucian's next Pokemon, Espeon, leaves her just under half, but she isn't phased as another Bug Bite takes Espeon down to the yellow as well. I'm glad Kohaku is getting more screen time as she really is a cool Pokemon, and my love for Fortress is strengthened as she survives another Psychic and knocks out her third opponent with a final Bug Bite. Bronzong enters the field but doesn't get hurt by the spikes, so I can only assume it has Levitate, not Heatproof. And with Kohaku proud of the Pokemon she's taken down, I swap out into Suika on a crit Earthquake, but in fairness she eats it like a Thanksgiving meal. Even though Bronzong gets off a Calm Mind and another Earthquake, 3 Flamethrowers later and Bronzong is returned to Notre Dame, leaving only Galactic left as the last Pokemon of the Elite Four. I'm not losing any more Pokemon if I can help it, so I swap into Yuzuriha on a soft Drain Punch. She laughs in the face of Lucian and his ace as a single fly is all it takes to absolutely destroy Galactic, winning us the battle and meaning Brock is now only one battle away from crowning him the strongest trainer in the region. Let's see if we have what it takes. Cynthia is still feeling a little butthurt after I rejected her grandma and wants me to feel the pain she felt, and I want the champion titles, so either way, with a Pokemon short of a full team, I take on the strongest trainer in the region. The final battle starts with Spiritomb, which in this gen has no weaknesses, and Suicune, who has been a staple in this run. I have a strategy here, and it is a little cheesy, but to summarize it briefly, I'm going to minimize until I'm at +6 evasiveness, then soft boil anytime Suicune gets low on health. And then I can use Flamethrower and Thunderbolt to whittle down Cynthia's team. In the process, I also managed to waste Cynthia's full restore, and eventually I knock out Spiritomb with a final Thunderbolt, which brings in Lucario. Lucario has a never missing move and super effective in Aura Sphere, which lands turn 1 and Suicune blasts back with a Flamethrower. Turn 2, to my utter disbelief, through 6 evasion boosts, Lucario somehow lands a Stone Edge, but because Suicune is a tank, she shakes it off and finishes off Lucario with a Flamethrower. It's now a normal type face-off as Togekiss enters the arena, who also has Aura Sphere, and she lands it, taking Suicune to the red, but she saw it coming and soft-boiled, regaining her HP, putting her back up to a third. Another exchange of Aura Sphere and soft-boiled brings Suicune back up to full. Suicune uses the remaining Thunderbolt PP she has to clip Togekiss's wings, but does leave her with over half of her HP still. Cynthia must feel threatened as she sends in her ace, Garchomp. Cynthia doesn't know that I don't have more than a single Flamethrower left at my disposal, but I'm not proud of this decision, but if it means I can win, sacrifices need to be made. So I rinse the last of Suicune's PP to the point where she struggles, and KOs herself. I'm sorry Suicune, we wouldn't be as far as we are now without you. Rest in peace. The battle's not over yet. I send in Ryusui to deal with Garchomp, and she gets off a scot-free Ice Beam thanks to Garchomp's last move being Giga Impact, and down goes her ace with ease. Roserade tries to avenge her fallen comrade, but only manages to get off a Toxic before falling to a single Ice Beam as well. Milotic comes onto the battlefield next, and I go for a super effective Giga Drain, but that quickly backfires as Milotic retaliates with Mirror Coat, and unfortunately, Ryusui falls as well. But she done what she needed to. She can sit on the sidelines with Senku and Suicune to watch us fight our way to victory. Yuzuriha revenges Ryusui and Suicune by landing a fly that takes down the last of Cynthia's Pokemon. Which means Brock has not only become the strongest trainer in Sinnoh, but also the official champion of the Sinnoh region. And this was my story on how Brock beat a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokémon Platinum.